you guys tonight. And I'm going to talk to you guys about leadership and leveling up with leadership. Whether you're a brand new coach, whether you have been a coach for 4 years, maybe a full year, maybe you're a coach where you are in your business, you're so proud of where you are, or maybe it's the opposite and you beat yourself up because you could be further along. We have something for everybody tonight. But first, I want to kick off with my story. Like Sarah said, I am a former teacher. I actually dreamt of being a teacher my entire life. I never saw myself doing anything but teaching. And I grew up in a very unstable household. Both of my parents were married 3 times, my mom 4 times by the time I was 13. And I relied on food in a very unhealthy way my entire life. I was obese as a child, and I moved a ton. I went to new schools. I had new brothers and sisters coming in. I had new parents coming in just from new marriages. And my life was just very rocky. And so the one thing that I relied on was this food. And so paired with loving food, I also loved to read. I was just a bookworm when I was little, and I knew that I wanted to teach children how to read when I got older. And so I pursued, I went through high school knowing that I wanted to be a first grade teacher. I went through college knowing I wanted to be a first grade teacher, and I even jumped right from my undergrad, where I got my bachelor's in elementary education, right into getting my master's to be a reading specialist. I moved right down to Maryland. So I'm from Rochester, New York. I moved from Rochester to Baltimore, Maryland to be with my boyfriend at the time. Now he's my husband. 7 years ago, to pursue my teaching career, where I fell right into what I thought at the time was my dream teaching position right outside of DC. I fell right into my dream master's program at Loyola University to become a reading specialist, and everything was just right. Everything, like, on paper, was just exactly what I had dreamt of. I was like, so at the time I was one of 7. I still am one of 7. A lot has happened in between then and now, but I was like the star child. My mom just bragged about the fact that Ashley got her degree, she got her master's, she was in this teaching position. And here I was, pouring and pouring and pouring into all of these things that were supposed to feel right, what I dreamt of my entire life. I remember it being February, or it was January of 2015. So one full year of teaching under my belt. And I was like, this is it. This is what I dreamt of. Like, this is the feeling of being where my dreams pushed me for 20 plus years. I was living in Tyler's parents' basement because Baltimore is ridiculously expensive, and we couldn't afford an apartment. We couldn't afford a home. And so we were just staying there trying to save our pennies until we could. And I knew there just had to be something more. I knew and I didn't know the answer to that. I didn't know what that something more looked like. I just knew that there was very little that I could control. And I knew my health was one of those things. And so I signed up for a gym membership. I signed up at LA Fitness, which was at the midpoint. I was commuting from Baltimore into DC every day, so about an hour, depending on traffic, every day, each way. And I found a midpoint gym right in the middle, where I'd go and I'd run 3 miles every morning. I would do it like clockwork. I would go run 3 miles, shower there, and had to work the rest of my day. And it was fun at the beginning. It was like that new energy, the new year energy, until it just wasn't fun anymore. And I know a lot of you guys can probably relate to that. Trying something new and you get excited, you lay out your clothes, and then like 3 weeks hit where you don't have accountability, you don't have support, you don't even really like what you're doing, you're not seeing the results right away. So you end up burning out. And that's where I was left it was February 2nd, almost 6 years to the day, the night before Tyler's birthday, which is February 3rd. I remember it so vividly. In 2015, and I was laying there. I think it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, and my dog's moving behind me. And I saw this post on social media, and it was one of my childhood friends. I'd heard of Beachbody in the past. My dad was actually a P90X junkie. My dad would wake up and do P90X at like 3 a.m. He drank Shakeology. He loved it. And so I saw this post that she posted. It was a 21-day before and after photo. And to me in that moment, it wasn't like this rapid weight loss. It wasn't this huge, like 100-pound change. It was literally 21 days. But in that moment, it wasn't what she showed me, it was what she said to me. It was that she said that she was proud of herself for committing to something. And I knew that Caitlin, my childhood friend, she was a nurse and I was a teacher. So I built that parallel and I said, well, okay, if Caitlin can show up and be proud of herself, something that I was not, I wasn't proud of myself. I was making excuses. I had already said I wasn't going to go to the gym the next morning. And here she is so proud of herself. Well, if she can, I can too. So I built that parallel. I really got to see myself through her lens. She really gave me permission to say yes to myself because she shared her story. And so I got signed up with 21 Day Fix. Back then it was DVDs. It was the container sent to your door and one bag of Shakeology for as much as we give away for the Total Solution now with Beachbody On Demand and all the nutrition materials. But back then it was everything that I needed. I battled with my weight my entire life. And a huge reason that I never figured it out was because it was always pointed fingers. Don't eat this, do eat that, don't eat after this time, don't eat before this time. Just all of this emptiness, like pointed fingers that never really collided with one another. And here I was actually filling myself with knowledge. I loved the color coded containers because, and even when they were just so brief, very surface level, they changed my life because I was actually taught you can eat all of this incredible food that you still love. Just make sure you're mindful about how much you're eating throughout the day. And so I fell in love with just the really the sustainability of our nutrition plan and the simplicity of our workouts, the simplicity of being able to mirror Autumn before going to a long day of work and then going to 2 nights a week, going to grad school and then driving an hour home. And so it just became something very simple and sustainable for me. And I was talking to one of my brand new coaches just now who's about to hit Success Starter, and I asked her, like, why do you feel like you're hitting Success Starter? She's like, well, when you really fall in love with something, when something changes you the way that it has changed me, you can't shut up about it. Like, it's just so authentic that you just want to talk about it to everybody. And that's what it was like for me all those years ago, 6 years ago, was that when I was going to the teacher's lounge, I was telling people about it because I felt incredible. They could see this light in my eyes. I wanted to tell people on social media, just like Caitlin had told me on social media. I knew, and I'm a helper, you know, I'm a teacher. I want to help people feel the way that I felt back then. And so I got signed up with coaching. My coach never had to like talk me into it. She was like, you should be a coach. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Like, you painted the perfect picture for me. You said, you really showed up. You said that you were proud. You told your story. I got to see myself through your story. I can do that. I can show up. I can share my story. I can paint this picture for how I'm consistently showing up to myself through my busy life and help give permission to, all the other Ashleys of the world. And so I ran with coaching. I never intended to quit my teaching job. I actually knew that I loved teaching, but I was pursuing my master's to be a reading specialist. I knew I wanted to get out of the classroom and just focus on teaching children how to read. But a crazy thing starts to happen when you feel this passion pull you. I say our hearts are really our GPS. I just felt like this like pull, from helping one person and then helping the next person, and then two turns into three and three turns into four, and all of a sudden this emotion that you're feeling for yourself, you're giving permission to other people to feel. And Beachbody does not guarantee any level of success. It all comes from your own, how hard you're willing to work, your own diligence and skill. But Ty and I had a 2-year plan to get out of his parents' house. We said, okay, let's try to push to get out of your parents' house by 2017. And in just 5 months, in August of 2015, we had saved all of my Beachbody pennies, and we ended up putting a down payment down on our first house to get out of his parent. I mean, it was nothing immaculate. It was our starter home. I don't know, for any of you who have followed me that long, maybe you remember my cinder block basements back then, but it was exactly what we needed. And we worked so dang hard for that. And this platform, I will never say that Beachbody changed my life, but Beachbody was the vehicle for me to change my life. Beachbody gave me the tools to change my life. Same with you guys. You're not just Beachbody coaches. You are given the tools to make your own business. You just have the tools. Beachbody is the vehicle handing you the tools for you to go now apply them, for you to go build your house with. And so I just really fell in love with the model. I fell in love with the way that I started feeling with this business. And it wasn't until March of 2016 that I went to my first like big event. I went to the Chalene Johnson event. And I already knew my heartstrings were like pulling toward being a full-time coach, but I had over $120,000 of college debt. I had a mortgage to pay. I had all of these things, adulthood, really, I had all these big dreams, but I knew my heart just kept pulling toward coaching. And Shalane Johnson said, if you feel like you need to quit your job, quit your job. And I got home from LA that weekend. I was like, babe, I'm quitting my job. And I did. I sat down with my principal that night, and I'm not telling you guys to quit your job. Like, it was a little crazy. I'm so lucky that we had Tyler to rely on, and that I was willing to work really damn hard to make that extra income up. But I remember sitting down with him and sitting down with my principal, just saying, like, I'm not going to come back this year. And it was a huge commitment to go full-time coaching. But something happened that year when I did go full-time, and it changed me, because I thought that everybody was going to flock to me once I went full-time. I thought that, woe is me. Look, I'm a full-time coach. I did it. I worked my booty off the first year for me to be a full-time coach. And I really coasted. I have this level of like expectation, and I didn't meet it, and I coasted like crazy. I remember from 2016 to 2017, I didn't make one single more dollar. I didn't advance in rank. I was still the only diamond on my team, and I was a rocky diamond at that. And it was in 2017 where my world was like shaken upside down. My dad's an addict. I deal with a lot of addiction in my family. I lost my sister last year to addiction, and it was really heavy to have my dad, after being clean for 13 years, to relapse. And I was in the moment, really the mode of already feeling very pulled back from my business. I didn't feel like, I didn't have any growth. Why am I not successful? Why am I not as successful as Lindsay Matway? Why am I not as successful as Bonnie Engel? And I just like kept setting myself up for these things. And it was the July that my dad relapsed. We picked up our life from Maryland, and we moved back to Rochester, and we rented an apartment. And I was sitting in my mom and my stepdad's house, and I filled out a teaching application, and I said, I'm going to stay here to be with dad, and I'm going to go back to teaching. Like, Beachbody is just not for me. And I filled out a teaching application in July of 2017, a couple days before my birthday, and I never heard back from anybody. And I swear it's the best thing that ever happened that nobody hired me, because it's impossible to get a job in Rochester, New York as a teacher. And in that moment, it was the beginning of August that I decided to draw a line in the sand. And tonight, I'm going to be talking to you about that line in the sand, what that leadership line really looked like for me. But the biggest thing for me was that I was comparing myself to the life that Bonnie Engel and Lindsay Matway and Brittany Leggett and all of these incredible coaches were living, not comparing the work that I was putting in compared, to the work that they had put in to get there. I wasn't sending the invites. I was not showing up on social. I didn't have the confidence. I was not getting results I was not this light, this just like energy, I didn't have this energy that they exuded in their business. And it took drawing a line in the sand, really for my leadership, to grow a team of coaches that I craved. And in 1 year, so that July of 2017 to the end of 2018, we went from being just a single diamond team, just myself, about to go back to teaching, to advancing 36 diamonds in 1 year, because of just a simple switch. And so I want to talk to you guys tonight about what that simple switch is. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys and jump right into it. Give me a second though. My computer isn't always. I gotta go to Apple and get this computer on.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question? Because that number right there was just incredible. So were all of those diamonds like personally sponsored coaches of yours, or your downline?
My downline.
Total. Okay. Yeah. That's still amazing. Okay. Thank you.
It was, so it was advancing like leaders within my downline, which is the goal. Like, I don't want 36 PS diamonds. I want a deep team. Like, and this is where Pat Reelman comes in, like, build deep, right, you guys. So I work with my coaches. I'm not a huge recruiter. I'm not somebody who recruits 30 coaches a month. I recruit about 5 to 10 coaches a month, and I work hard with them, but I work really hard with my entire downline. I have incredible relationships with my diamonds, like 15 levels down. And that's where you're going to see that income increase, like in a massive way. And that's why I'm so thankful that Pat mentored me, because he always taught me that, Ash, top 10 is cool, but how cool is a 6-figure, 7-figure income? Oh man. Okay. Can you guys see my screen? Awesome. So we are going to be talking about just reaching for bigger goals with your leadership. So I want to talk about an analogy that I heard the other day. This is fresh, and I did this call for my personally sponsored leaders last night, so I'm going to try to get it right. But it's the analogy that the carrot, the egg, and the coffee bean. Maybe you've heard it before, but I'm going to really align it to our businesses, especially right now with what we're going through in our world. So I want you to think about a boiling pot of water, right? Let's say you have a boiling pot of water and you put a carrot into it. If you put a carrot into this boiling pot of water, what happens to the carrot? In the chat, what happens to the carrot? It softens, right? Right, the carrot, it gets soft. What happens when you put an egg into a boiling pot of water? It hardens. Correct. Awesome. And what happens when you put a coffee bean into a boiling pot of water? It smells good. It turns into coffee, right? So let's rewind. Let's unpack this a little bit. So we have this boiling pot of water. Let's say that this boiling pot of water is the world that we live in today. We have things like COVID going on. We have just like political ugliness. We have injustice. We have just like the normal day-to-day mundane things, right? Even 2020 aside of all of those things, you're still going to have obstacles in normal life. Think about my 2017. There was nothing in my world going on, but there was burdens in my own family going on. No matter what life it is, no matter what year you're in, you're going to have obstacles. You're going to have road bumps, right? So I want you to picture that this boiling pot of water is life that doesn't always run smoothly. Sometimes it's going to just get hard. And I want you to think about you as the carrot. So in this crazy life, in this hard life, this life full of obstacles, you drop the carrot, you drop yourself in the boiling pot of water, and you have three options. You can either be the carrot, you can either be the egg, you can either be the coffee bean. But in this scenario, you're the carrot. And in this crazy life, you allow it to soften you. You allow it to pull you back from the world. You go into hiding. You stop sharing your voice. You're pulling back, you're getting soft, and you're really letting the world mold you into just being this character that doesn't want to show up in the world anymore. Then you have this egg, the second option, that in this boiling pot of water, in this crazy life, you are dropped in the water and you harden. You build this thick exterior, you build this wall up to life, you build this wall up to this business, you build this wall up to anything that could potentially be good because there is so much ugliness. You turn into this hard egg. But then you have this coffee bean, and you drop this coffee bean into the boiling pot of water or this life. And what does the coffee bean do? It changes the space that it's in, it changes the water, it changes the people around it. And so in this business, guys, in your life, in general, business aside, like I could give this speech to 7-year-olds. I could give this speech to 80-year-olds living in a nursing home, right? Whether you're building a business or whether you're just learning to be a kind human being, be a coffee bean. Be the person that when life is hard or when life is ugly or when life isn't going your way, you don't soften, you don't harden, you change the space that you're in and you shine your light. You start to change the people around you. And so this is what I urge you to do inside of 2021. I urge you to not let anything going on externally in your life to sway you from why you're here, to sway you from showing up just like you did as a challenger. When my girls come to me and they're not having success in their business, the main reason, actually, I'm going to say the only reason really to them not having success in their business is because they forgot how to be a challenger. They lost the youth in showing up in the way that they found, the most passion in their business. And that is by taking care of themselves through and through. You want to know how the top coaches got to where they were when I was begging to get there? They were taking care of themselves and they were sharing the journey along the way. I was not. They were sharing the journey along the way and they were inviting to the journey along the way because they bled blue, because they knew that if it changed their life, they knew that it would change so many people's lives thereafter. And that's where this coffee bean mentality, this coffee bean leadership really starts to come into effect. When you have something so beautiful, you have the ability to share it. You have the ability to share your energy, and you have the ability to do specifically 4 main things. And I want to share with you guys, I just came up with, I was thinking after listening to this incredible podcast who gave this analogy, I was like, okay, but when I think about my leadership that has led me to have a lot of success in this business, when I think about my coaches who have had a lot of success in this business, what are the commonalities? And it came down for me to these 4 simple E's. These 4 E's, ironically, they all just started with the letter E, so I called them the 4 E's. And so when I introduce these words to you, and they're going to be super simple, I want you to put in the chat what you think a leader would look like with this leadership trait, okay? So I'm going to share the leadership trait with you guys. All 4 of them begin with the letter E, and I'm going to share them with you guys, and I want you to tell me what a leader would look like with this leadership trait, okay? We're going to go on to the first one. The first E is evolve. A leader who is consistently evolving. What is a leader doing in this business specifically who is consistently evolving? I want you to put it in the chat. I'm a super interactive type of person, and I want to hear what you guys think. What does a leader who evolves do in their business? You can give me like real specific things. You can give me broad things. Love these. Sarah, so good. Always rolling with the punches. That is literally, of evolution. Yeah. So when I think about a leader who evolves, I think about a person like, we're going to talk specific. Like, let's think about Instagram, right? Instagram has changed from when I first started as a coach 6 years ago. We're not putting graphics on top of our images anymore, and we're not sending super cold messages anymore. I mean, we have Instagram stories, we have videos now. We have the ability to connect with them on a much personal level by just providing them incredible content. So a leader who evolves is somebody who is using the tools that Instagram is giving us, right? A leader who evolves is somebody who's going in and actually figuring out what's working for their team. They're going and they're reading blogs. How can I grow my social media? How can I get my face in front of more people? How can I create content that people want to see, right? This evolution of social media. Same thing with Beachbody, the evolution of using bod groups, not staying resistant to what you've been doing forever. I've been a coach through so many seasons. I think about like Julie Voris and like these coaches who have been around for 10, 13, or, up to 13 years, and how much they've had to evolve and how few of them really have become so successful because so many of them are set in their ways. And everybody runs their business differently, but I think about Julie Voris specifically and how she still gets on every single superstar call. She still is like, she's creating reels. She's doing the things that she knows she needs to do because her team's going to follow that. So those are just a couple of examples, but evolving with new programs, right? Going and doing the programs. And this is something that I wasn't doing as a coach. And this is something that I really lacked in order to draw that line in the sand. Was like, okay, Ash, if you want your team to get better, hell, if you even want a team to show up to, you've got to roll with the punches. You've got to show up in a way that you're not showing up. You've got to do something different. You got to find what works for you. And so this evolution, this feeling of evolving as a leader, guys, is massive, especially with what we're going through right now. The world is changing. Social media is changing. Roll with the punches. Feel the uncomfort. If you aren't uncomfortable showing up on social media right now with the changes, if you aren't uncomfortable showing up in your team page and you're not willing to be vulnerable, how are you going to give permission to other people? If you're not willing to make your first reel or your first IGTV or whatever, and it might not be perfect, how are you going to give permission to your coaches to do that? Or maybe you're going to say, well, I don't have any coaches, so I'm off the hook. Every time you show up, you're giving permission to somebody else to sign up with you as a coach. So everything that you do, everything you evolve with, you're giving permission to, right? So the next E is elevate. This is actually my team name. But when you guys think about the word elevate, what do you think about? When you think about a leader who elevates, what type of attributes is she doing or is he doing? Yep, I love it. When I think about the word elevate, I think about you are literally willing to be one step ahead. You are willing to go and do what it takes to be one step ahead of your team. What I mean by that is, we're a 9-week control freak right now. I would love to be eating donuts on my couch and having dark chocolate for dessert, but I am in 9-week control freak right now. And I told my coaches I was going all in. So I am elevating above them and I'm going all in. I am leading the path for them. Right. And that's the same for the people on social media who I told them that this program was going to change my life. I was going to do this program. I'm going to go all in with this program. The people that I'm inviting behind the scenes, how am I going to tell them that I think this program would be so dang good for them? And then me not follow through with my word on that, me not prove to them that this could actually be incredible for them. Elevating is really lifting yourself up and pulling people along with you. I told this analogy last night, but when I think about the coaches in this business, really the humans, and there really aren't many humans who truly elevate themselves for other people on this planet, but the ones who do, you know who they are. And they just make you feel seen, right? I think about this analogy where you have all of these balloons that are just like air blown, like out of like the oxygen. And then you have these balloons that are helium balloons and they just rise higher than everybody else. They rise higher than all of the other balloons. Like when I think about my business, I want to be above. I want to be consistently pushing to be above the other people so that I can always share my story and I can always be getting better so that I can pull them along. If for any of you guys who followed me last year, I had a really crazy year last year, in addition to COVID, and being a COVID bride. The day before my wedding, my husband, then fiance, had a really tragic accident. He had a tubing accident where the rope of the tube wrapped around his entire body. It severed his urethra and gave him 3rd-degree burns on his arm. And he was sent into emergency surgery that night. It was a 6-hour surgery where they took 3 inches out of his urethra, which is kind of graphic and gross. But I went from was supposed to be a wife the next day to having to be a nurse for the next 4 weeks, having to take care of the man that I love most who had a catheter. And, my life was shifted upside down. And what did I want to do through that pain? I wanted to work this business. I wanted to get up and work out. I wanted to lean on my team because that is the life that I had created. That was just my habit. Even when my life was shaken and I felt like I should be sitting on the couch and feeding him ice cream, once we got our groove for things, I wanted to get back into my business because it just feels right it felt right for me to be on that level. And so when I got to tell my story of what we went through, I didn't use it as a business advantage, but I got to say, it just felt right for me to just be able to tell my story and for this to have happened for a reason. Not that everything does happen for a reason, but it felt like I was put in that scenario for the other women in the world, for me to be able to tell my story to uplift whatever they're going through. And so whatever you're going through, you're growing through in a massive way. And you might be like, Ash, how does this help with my leadership in this business? Guys, people aren't buying you for Beachbody. People aren't going to buy challenge packs because you're showing up and doing your workouts every day. They're not. They're not going to show up because you're the fit girl or you're the girl who's figured it out on social media. They're going to join you because of how you got there. They're going to join you because of the emotion that you feel and the story that you share. And so when I talk about these 4 E's, the evolution, the consistently changing, the elevating, the consistently rising above, those 2 things are going to be why people join you, not because you have this badass program that you're doing in your gym, but because of why you're doing that, because of how you're doing that. And that leads me into the right one, or the next one of just energize, kind of fitting because we're probably all in love with energize. But the next one is how you show up. Like this was one of the defining factors for me. And I saw in Lindsay Matway, every time she had a baby, she just kept bouncing back and she was having so much fun with her health and fitness journey. And I just needed to find that. I just needed to find, I needed to get through that uncomfortable couple months and just start falling in love with my health and fitness journey and start showing up with this energy, showing up because I got to. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My brother actually owns a CrossFit gym in Rochester, and I've seen him. I actually worked for him one summer, and I just saw the inventory, the payroll, the in, the out, the red, the negative, just consistently. And it makes me feel so lucky that the only thing that I have to do, really the main thing, the core foundational thing that I have to do in my business is to show up to me and share that like wildfire. That was my missing link in 2017. That was why I almost threw the towel in, because I wasn't showing up to me and I wasn't sharing it authentically with energy, because I get to every single day. And so this attribute, this leadership trait of just energizing people, is this really showing up with a servant's heart. Energy is free, right? We get to give this energy for free away on our social media. So when you show up and you talk about the things that you love, it should feel like this authentic energy just oozing out of your pores on your social media. But if it feels pressed, and if you feel like, oh, I have to show up on my social media, or oh, I have to work out today, people are going to feel that too. And so making sure that you are building a strong relationship with your health and fitness journey. I just made a reel today talking about like 3 reasons that people aren't having fun with their health and fitness journey. People are so obsessed with the calories they're consuming and not just filling their bodies with ingredients that make them feel great, like just whole ingredients that come from the earth. What was my other one? That we're obsessing over the scale. Sure, use the scale as a tool. If you're a 2B mindset girl like me, use the tool as a scale, absolutely. But don't obsess over it. Don't find your worth inside of it. Instead, focus on how you're feeling every day, finding energy and pouring energy inside of yourself. A lot of women that I talk to, they're like, oh, I just feel like crap because I woke up and I was up 2 pounds. I'm like, wait, but did you feel like crap before you stepped on the scale? They're like, no. I'm like, well, why are you letting the scale make you feel like crap? Go pour in energy into yourself so that you can get it back out of yourself right now. And then the last one was, like, are you showing up to just check a box in your workout? Or are you actually showing up because you know the advantage of getting your heart rate up, that you're proud of the fact that you showed up to yourself? And so if you're not finding energy inside of your health and fitness routine, I would really recommend getting back there, because that is going to be the defining line for you. And then the last one is engagement. You can evolve over time, and you can show that like crazy. You can show that you're elevating, consistently getting better. You can show up with energy. But if you're not engaging your people, if you're not really providing them with content that they want to see, if you're not consistently building relationships behind the scene, if you're not growing relationships with people in your challenge groups or with your coaches, you're not going to grow the team that you crave. When I think about these 4 things, evolving, elevating, energizing, and engaging, I think about that's my dream coach. If I were to sign a coach tomorrow, I would want them to be willing to do all 4 of those things. And I know that if I want to recruit a coach that has all of those 4 things, I have to be all of those 4 things. I have to be willing to move with the punches. I have to be willing to consistently give my all to these programs and keep my word and do what I say I'm going to do. I have to be willing to pour in my energy to get more energy out. And I have to be willing to engage the heck with my girls and my team in order to give them permission to show up in that same way. So I urge you guys, in order to level up your leadership, you got to level up your life. You got to level up who you are as a human being in order to give permission to the other yous of the world to level up as well. All right, that's all that I have.
I took so many notes. First of all, I'm 4 years in, you guys. I still take notes at these calls because they light me up, and I am so grateful for you coming. This like hit my soul in a lot of ways. So thank you so much for sharing your story. And you're talking to a lot of nurses, so none of us were freaked out about the urethra. So don't worry about that. But we're really glad that Ty is okay. And if you guys have not checked out Ashley's page, not that you need a whole bunch more Beachbody followers. Sorry, but she has an awesome style about her too. But I love the analogy. Where did that podcast? What is that podcast that you got the carrot analogy?
It's Ed Milet. It's so good. I have been listening to him a lot lately. I listened to one of his podcasts. He has a lot of guest speakers on, and yesterday it was John Gordon was the guest speaker. I'm not really sure who he is, but he was incredible. I think he's just like a really big leadership guy. It was awesome. I really recommend Ed Milet a lot. Other than that,
what is it called? Ed My Love?
His name is Ed Milet. Hang on, I'll type it.
Ed Milet. Okay.
His show is just called Ed Milet, or like it's like something with Ed Milet.
Just his first name.
Yeah.
He's that cool. Yeah. No, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? She's got another call at 8. So are you okay with taking a couple questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we got a lot of stuff in the chat that you were totally hitting on some things that people needed to hear. So that was awesome. Anybody?
Where do you think, I do have a question. Where would you say you get most of your coaches that actually want to, run the business the way that you do? Like go all in.
My challenge group.
From your challenge group?
I only pull out of my challenge group.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
I have had coaches who have started from I'll talk about coaching, of course, on social media, and I'll invite to my coach with me for a week group. So I will get people from there, but my girls come out of my challenge group. My best relationships, my lifers, come from my challenge group. I think because that's a huge piece of my story is that I came out of a challenge group. And so I talk about that a lot, but also I love the two pieces. I love getting them to fall in love first, and then for them to just bleed blue and not want to shut up about it. And so I just find, I had 11 success starters last year, and every single one of them came out of a challenge group. And so I'm like, okay, Ash, don't break what's not broken. So that's just my main intention is, so right now for January, I'm not recruiting at all to coaching. Of course, some are just kind of falling through because they're asking about it. But right now I am all in my boot camp. I am in there all the time, engaging. I'm sharing all the recipes. I am posting photos. I'm going live in there. I'm not doing too much, but I'm doing enough with them. I'm building leaderboards in there. I'm encouraging them to post and engage on other people's content. So I'm kind of molding them into being coaches on the back end. I'm molding them into being coaches inside of my boot camp. So I do a point system where I do 5 points if you track your workout or Shakeology, 3 points if you track what you're eating, 2 points if you engage on somebody else's post. And these girls go nuts over it. I made my thing today, and this is just for my 9-week control freak group. I'm really focusing on these girls because they're going through it with me. And then on week 7 of 9-week control freak, when we're all on week 7, I will individually invite all of them on into a coach with me for a week group, and just for them to find out all about it. So that's just kind of my system. Again, I'm not a really high recruiter. I take my time on the coaches that I recruit, and a lot of one-on-one time with them. But that's what works for me.
I love that. So that's a lot of my style too. I'm not a huge recruiter, but I do sink a lot of heart and soul into my coaches. And so I love that you just said that, because honestly, you guys, that is possible for all of us. You see all the big numbers on the boards, 100 Success Club points, and you think oh my God, that must be all coaches. That's why they're at the top. No, Ashley's at the top because she sinks her heart and soul into her coaches. So that's digestible and doable for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could be doing that at the very beginning of your business. One of my girls she's an accountant. She has a very busy schedule. She led our team call last week, and she's so successful. She was a premier coach last year. She's a 3-star diamond. She, gave her a huge pay increase this year. She just lives in her challenge groups. She recruits just a couple coaches every month, but she just lives in her challenge group, and she has so much fun in there. She hits Success Club 5, 6, 7 every month, 5 to 10 every month. And she just has so much fun. And those girls are lifers because they're building a relationship from the get.
She's speaking to us, you guys. That's what our team is. We are consistent AF. Our groups are awesome. we have so much talent. I'm like so fired up this year about our team just because I feel like, I mean, I know I'm biased, but I feel like we're pretty cool. So. Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Ask away, don't be shy. I loved this so much. Ooh, Becca's got a question.
So I'm just curious, what do you think, like, I'll just throw a number out, maybe like the 3 top things that you do with your brand new coaches that you think really helps them see success early in their business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I build a relationship with them. Like I get on a call with them and I just ask them, how are they? And I am like I have no distractions and we just talk about life because people want to feel seen, especially right now. And they're not going to leave this business if they feel seen. Specifically, like I have 2 twin girls from Canada. They're not actually twins. They look exactly alike, but they're a year apart. And they're sisters. And we just get on a call every week and we just talk about life. And we of course answer questions and we talk about like how they could show up better on social media, all of the things. But they are just, their feet are rooted into this business because they feel seen in this. So getting on one-on-one calls with them, like building a relationship with them, helping them mold their story. A huge thing is that coaches feel like they have to get on social media and they have to be salesy in order to make their first sale. And they forget about what got them from point A to point B. And so I actually have them, like I'm their audience, and I have them tell me their story from start to finish. And I stop them whenever something is huge and I have them write it down. If like they say something about like junior high, like something pivotal happened there, I'm like, oh my gosh, write that down. Huge piece of your story that you can retell year after year after year. So, or like week after week, month after month, there's like little pieces that you pull out. Like, I just had a one-on-one call with one of my girls who I didn't even know this about her. She used to own a gym, but she didn't tell this piece of her story. And I'm like, girlfriend, like this piece of your story is monumental. So really just getting them to lay out their story for you and for you to help them just piece out, like how beautiful that is. Oh my goodness. So many women are going to be able to look into your story and into your lens, and you're going to give permission to them. So one-on-one, really helping them identify their story and then getting them connected to the team. So Team Cup is a great opportunity to get them on a team, or putting them in a group chat or getting them on your virtual, like if you have a virtual gym, I urge my girls, like work out with other people. So we have an open virtual gym link that we jump on every day. And so getting on and just seeing people really engaging in the chat, things like that. So one-on-one calls where you help them feel seen, really having them identify their story, and then get them building relationships within the team.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And notice that none of those 3 things are like mentorship. None of those 3 things are like do. It's helping them feel grounded in this business so that they want to go learn, because you can't say the right thing to the wrong person or the wrong thing to the right person. They're gonna be hungry at their own level. You guys are providing team calls for them, national wake up calls every week. I imagine that you guys are doing these awesome kick butt things. So just helping them feel plugged into that. That's where they'll get the content and the drive. They just need to really feel seen by you and feel rooted in this.
Yeah, I think that's also really important too, to remember, you guys, you're building friendships, and you're building these friendships like on a fast level. Like if you have friends that you've had since middle school, their whole story. So you need to like get to know these people's stories so that you connect on a heart level. And when you're connected on a heart level, that's how you build. And that's why we're all here right now. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yay. Anybody else? She's got she needs to get going to her other call, so give her a break in between.
Thank you guys so much. It was so fun.
This was awesome. Thank you so much. We'll see you at Summit, and we'll be cheering for you and hopefully up on the stage with you. So
deal. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.